This is how Freddy Kreuger led to Frodo Baggins. New Line Cinema is known as the house that Freddy built. The success of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise is what allowed them to pivot from being a small distribution company to a large, mainstream, big-budget production company. By 1989, the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise had lost a lot of steam. Dreamchild, the fifth movie, did not do very well in the box office, and they were looking to revitalize the franchise. They asked a young, up-and-coming horror director from New Zealand, Peter Jackson, to pitch an idea for the sixth movie. His pitch was for a movie called Dream Lover. In Dream Lover, Freddy would have lost all of his power, all of his edge. Kids were no longer scared of him, to the point where they even took sleeping pills to enter the dream world and fight Freddy. They'd kick his butt. New Line Cinema, and Bob Shaye specifically, thought this idea was a little too goofy. They decided to pass on it, but that connection between Bob Shaye and Peter Jackson was made. After this, Peter Jackson's star would continue to rise. In 1992, he made Brain Dead, aka Dead Alive. In 1994, he received his first Academy Award nomination for Heavenly Creatures, which he co-wrote with Fran Walsh, his writing partner and life partner. Around this time, they'd been pitching an adaptation of The Hobbit, but hadn't had much luck. They had met with Miramax, and Miramax was very interested in the idea. However, the film rights for The Hobbit were kind of crazy and convoluted, so they said, what if we pivot to Lord of the Rings? But Miramax insisted it was 1 to 2 movies. Peter Jackson wanted to do 3, but they compromised and agreed to a 2-movie adaptation. By 1997, Miramax came back to Peter and Fran and said, actually, we want it to be 1 movie. And at that point, they were like, no, we can't do 1 movie. So Miramax agreed to let them shop around the idea to other studios to see if anybody else would be interested in picking it up as a 2-movie adaptation.
And if that fails, where then will you go?
And this is where that Bob Shaye, Peter Jackson connection comes back. Peter went to New Line Cinema, and Bob Shaye specifically, and said, hey, we have this 2-movie adaptation of Lord of the Rings we're really excited about. Are you interested? Bob Shaye's like, yeah, we're interested. However, isn't it 3 books? Why wouldn't it be 3 movies? And Peter Jackson was like, that's what I'm saying. Let's do this. New Line quickly greenlit the project, gave it a whopping $270 million budget. The rest is history. It would go on to be a mega hit. It would go on to win all kinds of awards. And none of this would have been possible without the success of that first Nightmare on Elm Street movie, a small budget horror film that nobody was really interested in, but Bob Shaye was willing to take a shot on. And kind of did the same thing with Lord of the Rings, giving it $270 million for all 3 movies before the first one had even been released. They didn't even know. Fellowship could have bombed, and they would have already been in deep on the other 2. None of it's possible without Freddy and the success of that franchise, which is pretty crazy. If you like this, please like and subscribe. I'm going to be doing more of these fun stories, and if not, that's okay too.